Coming live from Sydney, Australia is our guest this morning. Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Lloyd Thompson, founder of Virtual Do and the author of 9 Ways to Leave Your Day-to-Day Operations. Welcome to the show, Lloyd.
There it is. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me, AJ. It's a real pleasure to be here, and hello to your audience in India and worldwide.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India, and welcome to all the people, who are joining onto this show. And I'm sure a lot of people benefit out of all the things that you have to share with us, Lloyd, But first, let me ask you one question in this manner, and that is related to the topic, is that you are fond of not just of your business, but also of surfing, traveling, and even dancing. And, but you dance to your own tunes. You dance to your own tunes. You set the tunes. But in organizations, sometimes the owner, the entrepreneur may have to dance to the tunes of some employees, maybe even just one staff member. And they can never go on a vacation, never get to dance on their own ways. Why is it so? How does it? And that is where the topic comes in, teaching your team to think for themselves and not be held hostage by anyone of your employees, your staff. And that is where the fractional do comes in. So first, to understand from you, Lloyd, is what exactly is a fractional directorate of operations? And that's the service you run.
Sure. Yeah. So firstly, we help busy online business owners get out of the daily operations so they have time. That's the biggest asset. So they got time. So they can focus on strategy, relationships, their passions, and shaking the tree for new business. And how we do that is we provide a fractional director of operations. So you've heard of other types of business like fractional COO, you might have heard, fractional CFO. This is effectively a fractional COO. So you're getting a slice of someone's time. What will they do? So this person is going to lead your team so that you have that time, oversee projects and operations so that the bumps in the road are smoothed out, and they're going to drive process improvements that you can scale. And my business, we do this on a month-to-month basis, and it's fractional. So when we say fractional, what does that mean? It means they're not just serving one client, they can be serving multiple clients. And you think, well, why would I want someone who's fractional? And there might be a couple of reasons for this. One is it's financially, it's going to be less than paying for someone full time. That's one reason. And the second reason might be as a senior position. So this is someone who sits between the founder or business owner and the team. That's where they sit. They're like the remote control, or they're like, they're getting the steering from the business owner, and they're going to sit in between like a suspension, making the bumps smooth in the road. So that's where they sit. Now, because it's quite a senior position, quite often full-time folks in that position, they want stake or equity in the business. So this gives someone flexibility. It gives the business owner flexibility. So if they can go, you know what, I just want to bring in someone on a contractual serviced month-to-month basis. It's effectively, a contract, a service agreement, a subscription, who can iron out the bumps in the road. They might set the foundations actually for a full-time person if they want to do that. So that's what that fractional director of operations role is. And their objectives are time, making the bumps smooth, helping them scale. And for some people, it's emotional. It's emotional because if you're the business owner and you're dealing with team and team issues, might be pay rise conversations, or it might be performance issues between Fred and Jane or whoever in the team, some kind of issues. That's really hard for the business owner to have that emotional bandwidth and also deal with the other things they need to in the business. So that fractional director of operations is getting them out of the day-to-day operations. That's their objective.
Right, Lloyd. So how does it all, how can one get started? Obviously, how do I know if I need a fractional director of operations? Because
Yeah.
I need to understand if everything is going smooth, then why do I need? Obviously, going on vacation cannot be a reason to have a director of operations. So, any symptoms that I can look at as the owner of my business, so that I know, okay, this is
I,
the time to get somebody from some expert from outside, which can, help me take my business
I,
forward.
I love this question. So symptoms might be that that actually your vacation example is perfect. If that business owner can't leave their business and decisions aren't getting made without them, that would be a symptom. Like, you can't sell your business. Eventually, you might down the road, you want to be able to sell your business. You can't sell your business if your business is you. So if the team is depending on that one person to make all the decisions, then that's going to be a symptom. Another symptom might be like, how much time is that person spending? So as the business owner, things that you should be thinking about doing are, as I was saying before, strategy. You should be working on your business, treating it like a prototype that you might be able to clone again and again and again, like McDonald's. It's a prototype. You're working on it, and you should be working on relationships and getting new business. If instead you're focusing on running the team and fielding questions from your team, and you're making all the decisions, that's quite likely going to be a symptom that you should get a director of operations. Like, if everything depends on you, if the team's always escalating to you and it can't operate without you, that's a good sign.
Okay. Now let's look at this fractional thing in this manner. I have a team, and normally within the team, people try to have those leaders who can manage businesses, especially, even if smaller business, they always have the other go-to man who can look at things in your absence for some time. But here, if somebody is coming from outside, a director of operations, fractional director of operations, how can one expect a part-time director of operations suddenly take my role with a team where I have no number two? How do I make sure? How does it give confidence to me? I know these things are working. You have got fractional CMOs, fractional, everything fractional at a fraction of a cost. But how does a person who has not created that number two, and is still there is that mismatch of understanding between the team and
Yeah.
the owner, how does he make sure get that confidence that a fractional director of operations will come in and the team will actually be very pally with him and do the way the thing should?
I love your questions, AJ. They're so good. First thing is, that's a really common question I get, and I will say to that, yes, I'll acknowledge that there is going to be some time spent to actually get a good understanding of the business. So the sweet spot tends to be once they've had a couple, 2 to 3 months with the business, that's when they really understand the business knowledge about, how that business is functioning. But there's going to be some things that come up again and again that need to happen, like team rhythms. So one of the things that we see a lot are the founder or business owner is scattergunning the team with tasks every day. Like, every day, what are we going to do next, boss? Bang, 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 right? So the director of operations will go in and put rhythms in place. And it's really important to get a rhythm. And no matter what the business is, there needs to be rhythms that run the business. And so these are going to be similar challenges. You're going to have the same kind of challenges in every business that you have. You're going to need to have rhythms to run your team, and you're going to need to lead the team. You're going to have projects and operations, and you're going to need to have some kind of patterns and processes about how you do that. And then you need to have a feedback loop so that when processes aren't going right or could be improved, that they feed back to the top. So having a fractional director of operations who's done this in many businesses, they go, oh, okay, well, we know what to do here. We need these kind of rhythms in place. And just give you a little example, it might be a weekly prioritization meeting with a founder. So the founders still needed to some extent. They're working on the strategy. They're going to say, I want to work on 1, 2, and 3. These are the things that are most important to me, these priority things. And quite often, these business owners, they're high visionary types. They have a bazillion ideas, but they need to help focus on just 2 or 3 that they're going to cook. They want to spin 1,000 plates, but it's like, guess what? We're going to cook 3 and get them baked and done. So normally one rhythm would be for the director of operations to have a prioritization meeting with the founder. That's one. Another meeting might be a meeting with the team. Now, depending on how big the team is, if it's a huge business they have, it's just going to be the heads of the different department leads. If it's only a team of 6 or 7 people, it might be most of those people there. But there'll be a team meeting. And the purpose of that team meeting is to understand what the reds and greens are in the business. So there needs to be some aspect of measuring all of the different things from the area. So it might be sales numbers, marketing numbers, finance numbers. And we know if it's below this number, number of sales below this number, red, above this, green, and these things you figure out as you go. You get a feeling of, oh, this is not a good number for this area. This is a good number. So in that team meeting, you'd go around the different areas and you would be looking at what's red and green. And eventually a director of operations should be installing a dashboard so they just see the dashboard of what the reds and the greens are for each area. And the business owner can look at that dashboard and go, aha, here's a red here. I want this red to be priority number 1. This is closest to my heart. So you can see how the two things link together. So they're putting in prioritization meeting with the founder, a team meeting, looking at the reds and greens, and then other rhythms might include process improvement meetings. So let's say we've talked about reds and greens coming out of that team meeting. Well, surely the red that matters the most is a high priority. So the other things that the director of operations will spend their time on is looking at that and going, what will it take to make this red a green? So they'll work with a person who's in that area and go, well, what do we need? Do we need more money? Do we need to improve the process? Is the person who's in charge of that area the right person? What do we need to do to make that red a green? So these are the kind of rhythms that a director of operations would install. And that's going to be common across every type of business that you have.
Right. Now, let me ask you a couple of questions again here, Lloyd. Is that in existing operations, especially in bigger firms, maybe they have their own director of operations. But if it's a smaller firm, the founder is the person who is taking all the calls. If they don't have a director of operations, there might be somebody else who would be doing the same job, almost like the same job, maybe not taking that same decision as a director of operations would do. What happens to that person when the DO comes in?
That's a great question. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. Second thing is that, as we talked earlier, things will take time for a director of operations, a fractional director of operations to come in, understand things, and then start looking at things. How much time should a founder give to a director of operations? If he's going on a leave, obviously vacation, he is not going to be on vacation forever. So how does it work out? What would you tell here for the audience, for the businesses, entrepreneurs to understand these things better?
Yeah. Let's answer the first question. So your first question is, what if you've already got someone in a similar space who's running the operations? Well, firstly, we're not there to replace the team. We're there to enable them. So actually, some of our messaging to the founder will be, hey, we're not there to threaten anyone. We're there actually to help them. It should be good news that we're there. Guess what? Your business owner is going to now have some time to focus on shaking the tree for new business. They're probably going to be calmer. They're going to be focusing on their special power of selling or what helped them form that business in the first place. So if there's someone already in there and they're doing a good job, let's let them carry on. We're there to look for the bumps in the road and smooth them out. There's going to be plenty. Usually when we're being asked to get involved, it's because a few things. It's either the business owner needs more time, and that means that perhaps they have been sucked into the daily operations. So perhaps that person who's doing the operations needs a bit of help. Like we can help them out or try and help look at their ways to make them more efficient. So that's the time. Again, it might be there's bumps in the roads. So when I was talking about that dashboard earlier, reds and greens, perhaps there's quite a few reds. So if there's already someone in there, perhaps they need some help just getting these reds to greens. Like you focus on these reds, we'll focus on these reds, we'll come together. It does generally make sense to have one point person. So beneath that founder, there's just one point person who's the DOO, who's going to be like the remote control to the team. It doesn't mean that the teams can't still talk to the founder, but what we're trying to do is give them a lot of more bandwidth so that they can focus on what they want to be doing with strategy and relationships and so forth. So that was the answer to your first question. We want to be able to help that person who's there and really just look for where they need help and enable them there. To your second question about how much time, in the beginning, it does take a bit of time for that director of operations or whoever you bring on in any role to get to know the business. So generally I advise giving it a couple of months, just because it takes them that time to just pick up the business knowledge. They can almost get started and add value straight away by getting into understanding what's red and what's green, by measuring things and meeting the team and understanding their pain points and being able to help fix them. But normally a couple of months is best.
Right. Now, here is that in terms of not just director of operations, even in terms of fractional CMOs, what should be the expectation of a founder? There can be a huge expectation mismatch. Suddenly, a founder who has not been able to build trust with his team may expect suddenly a lot of trust from his team and everybody doing such great work, and when he comes back from his leave or from a vacation, wherever he goes to, or trying to build up any other business, and he may have a lot of expectation. People don't have that wherewithal to look at themselves or their deficiencies, if you can say. So what would you tell them? What should be their expectations in terms of any fractional sort of a guy that they hire, especially the director of operations?
Yeah, I would say with these roles, it's a partnership. So that founder can't just say, here you are, cheerio, and off we go. It's a partnership. For this to be a success, both people need to be in it together and work together. And that partnership is only going to work if they're working well. And in fact, an odd analogy I have to this is finding a good visionary or business owner and director of operations pair. It's a bit of a dating game. It's a bit about trying to find a good match. So I made a mistake early on in a business where I tried to bring in a director of operations who was very much a very soft-skilled, very, how can you describe this? Very sort of relaxed relationship build character. And I put him in with this very super direct business. And that was their style. And everyone was like that. So that was a mistake. But that person then went on to work into another business where everybody, the whole type of business, the whole culture of that business was very, very relationship focused and building up a rapport. So it's super important to get that relationship match worked out. And so that's a lesson I've learned early in my business to make sure, okay, what style is the culture of the business and the founder, and on what style is this director of operations that I would look to bring and make sure they're a match. And I normally introduce them first. So, hey, do you think there's a rapport going here?
Right.
So the summary is it's a partnership. It has to be together. The business owner has to work well with that director of operations. And it's going to be pretty quick to know if these two characters are going to gel or not.
Right, Lloyd. So matchmaking is not an easy job. It's a very, very tough job. That is what you are doing at your operation virtualdo.com, and you are doing it quite well. So how does somebody get started with your company virtualdo.com? Tell us about your company and how can one get started with you?
Yeah, easy. I mean, if someone wants to get started, all they need to do is go to virtualdo.com and there's a contact page, and they can either email me or just book a time in my calendar, and I'll be delighted to talk to them. And sometimes I might look at their problem and go, hey, you know what? Maybe this is a too small a team, or we're not the right fit. But I still want to talk to them because I might be able to point them in the direction, because I have a Rolodex of people that I work with, of all of the businesses that I work with, where I can send them in the right direction. If I think that we are a match, of course, I'll say, look, here's how I can help. And so all they need to do, go onto my page, contact me, email, or and then normally how we get started is we have we work out if it is a match, and I send them an agreement. And then it's just a month-to-month subscription from then on. Cancel at any time. Super easy. So if they just want us for 3 to 6 months because they're in a transition period and they want to make the bumps smooth in the road, and they want to have rhythm set up, and they want to lay the foundation for the next person coming in, or they want to get used to a DOO role, then they just need to contact me. I'll have a chat with them and see if we're right to help them.
Right. And then you have this book also, 9 ways to leave your day-to-day operations.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Thank you, Adrian.
Right. Wonderful. What is this book all about? And people, if they read this book, can they not need your director of operations service?
Good.
Is it a replacement, or will they go hand in hand?
These go hand in hand, because what I want to do, I want to spend most of my time when I'm talking to people on the call, helping them solve their problem, whether they go with me or not. How can I help you? I'll send you to someone who can help. Of course, if they come to me, super. This book has shortened a lot of conversations for me personally, so that's my own benefit, because they know what we do. So this book is a primer. It's going to tell them what a director of operations does. It's going to say, hey, these are the kind of rhythms that you can put into your business. These are the kind of methodologies. These are the things that are going to iron out the bumps in the road for you. Now, once they've read this book, they can go, oh yeah, I can do it myself. I can train up my team. That's a perfectly good option. Or they can say, you know what? There's a guy I know who wrote this book. I can reach out to him and perhaps he can, solve this problem for me. So also when people want to talk to me and they say, hey, if it's an email and they want to say, hey, can you tell me all the kind of things your director of operations does? Quite often I just send them a PDF of the book and I just say, look at the chapter titles. I don't expect you to read the whole book, but look at the chapter titles in the front of the book. And that's a high-level description of what we do. Have a look at that. And if you want to jump on a call with me, I'll answer any questions. It just makes things easier.
Right. So how do people get hold of this book, and how do they connect with you so that they can, learn more about your company, about you, and also engage with you?
Yeah, great. So that book is available on Amazon and Kindle. So if you go to amazon.com and you look for 9 ways to leave the day-to-day operations, you'll find it there. Actually, I give it away as a PDF of my book on my website too. So if you go to virtualdo.com/book, then you can just download the PDF for free. And to contact me, virtualdo/contact, virtualdo.com/contact. And then you'll have my email address, and also you're able to book a catch up with me if you want to ask me any questions or talk to me about any challenges you have in your business, and seeing if we can help you.
Right. And Lloyd, so whether a fractional director of operations there or not, a founder will always need a good team. So
absolutely,
how does that thing work? You have a lot of expertise in understanding all these things. And if you can tell for a lot of, especially small businesses, entrepreneurs who are dealing with a small team or even a larger team, how can they get their team to think for themselves so that the owner, founder gets some time for himself, herself, move out of the day-to-day operations, whether the need is there for a director of operations, whether they can afford a director of operations or not. But the fact remains that they always want the team to think for themselves and give him some respite from whatever they are doing.
I'm pouring a cup of tea because I know this is going to be a long answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it starts with, oh, and AJ's got a cup of tea on the brew there too. I see. That's perfect. So first of all, it starts with, it's a good place to get the right people in your business in the first place. And there's a great book that I love called Good to Great by Jim Collins. But without going through the whole book, he talks about getting the right people on the bus that's in your business and in the right seats. So the first thing you want to do is hire the right people. Now, when he talks about getting the right people on the bus, he's talking about the people with the right values that align with yours. Different businesses are going to have different values. So in my business, it's about having a heartfelt connection, humor, initiative, enabling people, enabling yourself and others. I've got a number of, I've got 4 cultural values in my business, but I'm looking for people who that message resonates with. So, and also, pretty early on, if you have a team, you could just look at your team and write down the values of your business, and you'll be able to tick off who belongs and who doesn't. That's super important, because when people have been with you for a while, they might have eventually want to move into different roles. And if they've got the right values, they can move into those different seats. So that's what I was talking about. Right people, right seats. The right people, first of all, to come into the bus, into your company, have got to have the right values. And the people going out of your business, if it's not a value match, those are the people that should be getting off the bus. Right seats. So this is more of a hiring thing again. Someone who belongs in your business in the right role needs to get it. Like, they need to understand what you're trying to do, right? You tell them what you're trying to do. They need to get it. They need to want it. They really need to want what you, because if they don't want it, they're not there. And they need to have the skill and capacity to do it. So those are the elements of a good person in your business. Right people, right seats. Okay, now you've got those people on your bus in your company. And one of the challenges I hear is, people keep coming to me to make decisions. I'm making all the decisions. What? Now, sometimes this is a surprising answer to the business owner. You as the business owner, you might actually be the problem, because when people come to you with a problem, if you just give them a solution, you're training them to expect that. You're reinforcing, I just go to Lloyd, he's going to give me the solution. So the first thing you need to do is break that and do it nicely. Just say, hey, I'd love it if when you've got a challenge, I want you to just have a go at what you think the solution is. It might be a better idea than what I've got, but I want you to just go that extra step. And so this is coaching, and this will buy you a lot of time with your team, and it actually helps them get further. And eventually they enjoy that. I don't want workers, I want artists. I'm going down a rabbit hole here, AJ, but the difference I think between work and art is that work is when I say to someone, do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. That's work. I'm working you. Art is where I say, hey, I would love it if you solve this particular problem for me. Choose your own adventure. And then they get to apply their art to get there. Now, it's not just I'm not throwing them in the deep end. I'm there to help them. I'm there to coach them. And so by coaching them, that's where they come to me with a challenge. And I say, okay, what do you think the solution is? And I then ask them questions. And the questions I ask are probably questions that I had in my mind of how I solved the problem. So, it could be something really, if I was buying a car, it's like, okay, what kind of what kind of car am I going to buy? Do I want to go electric, or do I want to go diesel or petrol, or what's the best option? However I chose my options to get to that solution, I'm going to ask those questions to them. It's a bit of a weird analogy I've got, but you want to get into the coaching model so that every time someone comes to you with a problem, you want them to come to you with a solution as well, and you guide them.
Right, Lloyd. One thing I wanted to understand is that how do you look at automation? Because this is the time of automation, and a lot of these companies, and automation and artificial intelligence is now there. So a lot of companies, when they pitch their product, they say you can control your business, manage your business from everywhere. Is automation a hindrance for a founder to go on a vacation, leave the job behind, or is it just making them too overconfident about being able to control their business, manage their business from everywhere, and rather
Oh,
than managing, they are just controlling? How do you look at this whole development of automation and the founders?
automation is a tool. So if for a good team should learn how to use automation, and there will be cases where automation has been able to replace manual steps, and that's perfect. And that's where you want to go. You want to look for those opportunities where you can say, why would anyone do this repetitive task when it can be automated? Perhaps someone wants to sign up an agreement with your business. They might be able to sign the agreement and automatically go onto a month-to-month agreement immediately there and then, and save some paperwork in between. That's kind of automation. Or it might be automation in your accounting processes and alike. So if it's something that can be automated, I would say automate it. In fact, anytime there is a task, so what, I'm just going to dial back it for a second. One of the ways we're working with a business owner is to say, what are the tasks that you're doing in the daily operations? Now, for each of those tasks, the first question we might ask is, can it be automated? Okay, if it can be automated, we should invest the time and energy to automate it. If it can't, can it be delegated? So who does this belong to in the team? Are the roles and responsibilities clear in the team? If it can't be delegated, is there a gap? Do we need to hire someone? Do we need to train somebody in the team? And then finally, it's like, who does this belong to? Is this actually a coordination task that perhaps belongs? Is this a high-level operational coordination task? Does it belong with the director of operations? We're really there to enable the team as much as possible to do it themselves. So it starts with automation at the very beginning. And automation is a tool. So it doesn't mean we're going to necessarily replace the people. Automation is definitely a place where you can. I mean, look at when you go to the checkouts now, if you go into a supermarket, right? Certainly in Australia, it used to be that you queue up for your shopping and someone's going to bag it all for you. Well, in Australia, you get the automated checkout. So there's plenty of opportunities to use automation. And if you can automate it, you should. I can say one other thing about this, which is if you're not using automation or even AI, which is the next thing that's really taking off, then you risk being left behind. And
Right.
it's a little bit like, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here, AJ, if we got time. It's a little bit like in the 1800s, we had the Industrial Revolution. And that was where things that used to be done manually, making clothes on looms and things, were now being used in machinery to automate those things. And there was some group of people, they were called the Luddites, who tried to oppose that. It's going to take our jobs. Well, it was inevitable. So it's a little, and so these terms, the Luddite, we now in Australia anyway, if someone's a bit behind the times, if they're doing something old-fashioned, if they're not really using the technology, we call them a Luddite. And can you imagine now if you had a business and you weren't using the internet? Even the laundrette, where you're getting your clothes washed, they would have some kind of presence on the internet. So if you didn't have an internet presence, I might call you a Luddite. Similarly, if you're not looking in your business on how to efficiently use AI and automation, for automation certainly now, but for AI in the future, I might call you a Luddite, because there are so many ways to speed things up using automation and AI.
Right. Well explained, Lloyd. Very well explained. And I'm sure a lot of people will benefit out of all this understanding of this difficult subject. It can be a difficult subject, but you have made it very, very simple for almost everyone to understand it. My last question to you is that in your work, you need to be available to your clients, to people who you have deputed for managing others' businesses. Then how do you yourself able to take out for your own vacation, for your surfing, travel, and even dancing? How do you manage that?
Good question. So actually, when I started my business, I was the director of operations. It was all me. And at the point that I got to 3 and then I had another client, it was no longer me. I started hiring and training and coaching director of operations. So now how I'm active in my business, I'm interviewing and hiring and training the right director of operations. I'm doing that kind of dating service to see if they're the right fit for the customer. I'm there in the background to support my team, and I'm available if the business wants to have a chat with me. And I normally say, hey, look, let's catch up at least once a month. I want to hear if you've got any challenges. And to be honest, I'm a problem solver. So I still get excited by, oh, tell me your challenge. I want to see if I can fix it for you, or I've got a suggestion for you. So how I get the bandwidth, use a team. And you can't, nearly all businesses, you can't scale without having a team. You've got to have a team. So getting your team right, getting it running the right rhythms, getting the culture right, that's really key to scaling.
Wonderful.
And I think I'm doing that myself. So living up to what I preach to other businesses, I'm doing it myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On this note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much, AJ.